Yeah, no problem.
Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I get to interview Yasmina. So Yasmina, welcome.
Hi.
So Yasmina, can you tell us your full type, please?
Yes, I'm an ENFP jumper, double feminine, NETE, play, consume, sleep, blast.
And then when you got your typing results back, what did you think and how did you feel?
Uh, I think it took me 5 minutes to accept it fully, because my last self type was really close from that. I feel like I had all the elements, but I didn't manage to put the puzzle like correctly. So yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, makes sense.
Oh, what did you type yourself as originally? That was pretty close.
I think it was masculine, feminine, FINE, consume, play, sleep, last. Yes.
Oh, an INFP.
Yes.
And then you became an
So,
ENFP, so not too far.
yeah. Yeah, it's all the same animals. I was just wrong about one sexual, but
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
How did you get into the personality typing stuff and OPS specifically? Like what was your journey to get there?
So, a long time ago, when I was around 21, I did the MBTI test. I got INFP, but I didn't pay attention more than that to it because, yeah, I was depressed at the time, and okay, I didn't see the interest. Then later during the confinement, I've redone the 16 personality test. I had INTP, and I think at the beginning I was like, yeah, okay. I told my friends, we talked about it. They were like, yeah, and I don't know why it bugs me so much. Like, like I was like, there's no way I'm an INTP. And I was like obsessed with that, with the fact that it was wrong. And rather than being like, okay, it's not even like something scientific, there's no base for this, just move on with your life. I just, yeah, dug in the functions. And then I stumbled onto Dave Powers, and the rest is history, we can say. Yeah. And I kept digging and digging and digging. And yeah, the Facebook group, I joined the class, and yeah, I just thought it was fascinating actually. And also I was, because it was confinement and I was in the growth mindset already thing. I was like, okay, maybe there's something about me that I don't see, that I need to see, and if it's an interesting information, well, I'm gonna take it. It was more like this.
Now that you've had a chance to process your type, like what did you learn about yourself? Like now that you've landed on it, because like we originally spoke, I think in January of this year, and then
Yeah.
you wanted to wait longer to process your type, which is great because you're sleep blast, so that's exactly what the
Yeah.
right thing to do. But what did you what kind of conclusions did you come up with about yourself that like once you've gotten a chance to process your type better?
Um. Well, I thought I was DI, and I was right about being a masculine DI. So yeah, it was just interesting to see. Okay, um, maybe I don't know. Um, how can I explain that? Yeah, then I'm better at taking care of others than I imagined, and that maybe my journey was actually going towards MDI rather than the opposites, and see how I don't necessarily respect my emotions all the time. So yeah, because my MDI is demon masculine. It's activated. It's in front of my face all the time. So I used to think that, yeah, it wasn't the main element in my personality. So it was interesting to see that I still have things to learn about this. But I think the most important thing about my type is rather that I have to make improvements when it comes to consistency. That's the most important thing. And I already knew it because I could see that I wasn't consistent. um, but yeah, I didn't realize how much of a problem it was, and it's making me see how much I'm not going to be able to realize my goals if I don't get through this. But I was already in this process, like I said, of a growth mindset. So I was already working on consistency, but like really now I can see that there's really something unbearable for me when it comes to doing the same thing every day. like I really feel like a robot. And I remember during confinement, I was trying to work on that even before having my type. And yeah, I just had this thought, oh my God, it's like to be human and to have dignity, you have to act like a robot. Like that's really like the conclusion that my mind came to, when actually most people do that. They just do the same thing every day and improve slowly and accept the process. But it's like I absolutely refuse the process. And yeah, and I didn't realize how much I just refuse to be consistent and do the same thing every day and accept that there's progress and that you're not going to do things perfectly the first time. Yeah, it was like a realization.
So your
I
biggest
guess.
problem is still SI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
I went to the European meeting of OPS, and something about SI also that I realized is it's divided in three problems that I have. The first thing is that I have bad memory and I lose stuff all the time. The second thing is I hate being consistent and doing the same thing every day and following a schedule. And the third thing is I have terrible sense of proprioception. Sorry, I don't know if people don't know what it is. It's like basically your knowing your sensation in your body and knowing what you do with your body without being fully focused, and knowing how your body works from inside and feeling it and feeling what you do with your body. I have no idea what I'm doing with my body. It's like, I don't know. It's like something I used to go from left to right, but I just don't know what I'm doing with it. And I was speaking to someone at the meeting, and I remembered that. So I started singing around 20, and it was a big thing for me to start learning that, because it's basically the first activity that is not like cerebral that I did in my life. This was the first time I didn't do sports. I didn't move with my body when I was a teenager. So it was like the first time I really had to focus on my body and feel like, okay, what am I actually doing? And learning things about anatomy. And it's the first time. I was 20 when I realized that it's not because I understand something with my brain and mentally that I can do it with my body. Like for 20 years, I really thought if you understand it, you can do it and it's over. Like, you know. And it was a big realization. And I was even like really humbled because I realized I had no kinesthetic intelligence. Like I have to do things like 100 times before I really, really understand how to do them with my body. And I immediately linked that to feminine SI last. I was like, oh, that's why. That's why I don't get it. And that's why my body doesn't register things easily. And it's a big problem. Yeah.
Do you have trouble with like so since we already started this topic, let's talk about your sexual modalities then. You are tester and visual.
Yeah.
My first question is, do you have trouble with exercise or movements in general because of the lack of that control with your physical body and sensation and stuff? I don't relate with you, by the way, because I'm masculine SI, and even
Yeah.
though even though we're both NETE, like I have
Yeah.
very good physical awareness. Visual is my biggest area of difficulty. Like I'm
Oh,
blind. I don't see anything. I'm blind, you know. And I know I'm Asian. I already have small eyes, but no, it's it's even worse than that, you know.
yeah.
So anyways,
Mm,
so you are tester and visual. Tester is smell, but
mm,
because it's SI, it's like having favorite smell and taste. Can you talk
mm.
about your favorite, like, do you like different candles, perfumes, that kind of stuff? And do you also like to try different food, or how do you personally experience your tester sexual modality?
Um, I'd rather say that I'm difficult with all of this. So smell, I don't like perfumes generally. At some point, I thought I was allergic because when I was smelling something, I would like, I don't know, have a reaction of I would have headaches and things like this. So yeah, I'm very sensitive to that, and my memory tends to associate smells and places and yeah, associate that. So when I go somewhere and I smell something, I'm immediately like, oh, it smells like this and it reminds me of this and everything. Um, for everything that's food, so I got better growing up and traveling because I was like, okay, I'm traveling. I need to test different things. Like I cannot keep eating like I'm eating at home. And I like to try new things now. But I have weird stuff that I don't eat and I never tried, and it's just I don't want to because visually it doesn't appeal to me. Like fruits and yeah, some vegetables when I'm like, no, for no reason at all. And I realize, or even fruits, like they have to be in a certain state visually. They have to have a certain color. Otherwise I don't eat them, even if I like them. So it's just weird. I realized I was picky growing up because I saw others eating everything and I was like, okay, why why isn't it an issue for me? But yeah. Otherwise, yes, I'm kind of a foodie, and that's my favorite thing when I'm traveling. I like to find the restaurants and be like, okay, I'm going this. Yeah.
Must be an NETE kind of thing to like traveling, because like, like I travel a lot too, so kind of interesting that you mentioned that. And I think other NET I've met in my personal life also like traveling, so it must be, or it could just be an ENFP thing, who knows? Or
Well,
gatherer.
I like traveling, but no, I actually like traveling. It's just I generally don't have the cash for it,
Yeah.
and I have other priorities. But yeah, I like traveling, and I like traveling alone. I know some people don't like it, but I love traveling alone. It's
Yeah,
just
I
like
can
I
I
don't
can
want to
relate
follow
to
the
that.
schedule of someone else. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you from originally? Because like you're in Belgium now, but where were you from originally? Are you from Belgium originally?
No, but I arrived here when I was 18 months, so it's pretty much the same. I'm originally from Niger. Um, and yeah, my mom just left with me and my brothers and sisters, and so yeah,
Is
I'm
that
living
how
here
you
since.
pronounce that country? I've always wondered how it was pronounced.
Niger?
Yeah, because I heard some people say it's like Niger or something, like, so.
Oh, but Niger. Niger is in French. Yeah,
Oh, okay, I see. So it's the same thing. So in English, it's
yeah,
Niger.
it's the same country. Yeah.
Okay,
And generally, when I say that, people are like Nigeria, and I'm like, no. Next to it, French speaking. But yeah, we're not really like super popular in Africa. So.
yeah. Well, I want to go there. I want to go to Zinder, and what's that other place? There was another place I wanted to see there. It's like, um,
Well, I never went back
oh really?
until now. No. No, I never went back. It's a long story, family story, but yeah, I never had the occasion to go back. I went to Senegal, which is just next to it, like, and
Yeah.
my sister was working there, so I went, but otherwise, no, I never went back.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah, you might go before me.
Yeah,
Might.
I might.
We'll see.
I might. Yeah, I want to see those like Central African countries like Mali and Chad,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, West Africa is a pretty cool place, and I want to see more myself. And I come from a tribe that is nomadic also, so you can find us like in Niger, but in Nigeria, in Mali, Senegal, every country around uh, this area.
Oh, so
So yeah,
your background then is mixed with those other ones, because it's not really just like that area specifically. It's like,
well, yeah. Originally, my family comes from Burkina Faso.
oh, okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and so the legend is one of my great grandfather fought with his father, left home, walked through the desert, arrived in the capital of Niger, and was like, okay, now I'm here, and I don't want to speak to them.
Oh, okay. That's funny.
So it's super funny because I have like a big family in Niamey, which is the capital. And I know that I have like a huge family in Burkina Faso, but I've never seen them. I don't know how they look. Apparently, we have an entire village of my family, but yeah, stuff,
Bunch of NETEs in that village. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? It wouldn't surprise me. But I feel like when I hear about my family, I feel like there's a lot of SI
Oh, really?
tradition. Yeah,
Of
because
like
well,
ISTJ
not
cousins or
actually,
something.
no, but yeah, maybe it's my imagination, but it's because I come from a very religious background. I have great grandfathers who built mosques. They studied in Arabia Saudi, and even my family in the region where I'm from is known to teach the Quran. So
Oh, okay.
I feel like it's very,
SI.
not any, like we stay in the zone and we do our thing
Right.
and we follow the rules. So yeah, even in my family, actually, I think among my brothers and sisters, I think we are I'm sure we are me and my brother, but the rest seems like OI.
SIA.
So it's a bit weird. Yeah.
Before we channel change too much, let's go back to you being yeah, it's a problem when you have two and like eight Emmys. Let's go back to you being a tester. So I mean, so we already talked about you being a tester. Let's talk about you being a visual. Second.
Yeah.
So I can see from your style, you're very visual. Like, you know, you have like your yellow hair and stuff, you know. Can you talk about
Wait. The yellow hair is a recent development.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I was very like trying not to, to show too much what was my style outside for a while. It's just now I have this artistic endeavors and I'm gonna start my social media and everything. So I was like, okay, I need like a certain style.
What
but
what
yeah,
are you like a musician now or something, or
kind of.
Okay.
Try it.
I'll try.
Last thing the thing, but yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Well, you're not blast last, right? You're sleep last, right?
No, I'm blast last. It's
Oh,
crazy, right?
Did I get your type wrong? So wait, your play consume sleep blast.
Sleep. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. I thought you were sleep blast for some reason. But anyways, okay, good to know.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, anyways, go back to being a visual.
Yeah, that's the visual. Yeah, with this said, yeah, it depends when I decide it's important. If I decide, okay, visually I want a certain thing, a certain mood, a certain vibe, I'm gonna do it without even thinking about it. I'm good for everything that is decoration. I know it. I realized that actually seeing other people in my family that there is a sense of according colors and shapes that I know is like you have to do this so that it works. That some people are just don't have that, and I'm like they make choices, and I'm like, but why?
That's me.
But why do you do that?
That's me.
Like makes no sense. With this said, I'm not like a fashion obsessed person or things like that. I only do it when I think I will take advantage of this, because I know that you meet people or you go to a place and you get this first impression, even if you're not visual, like you get this first impression and you don't even realize it. And it's more in that way that I use it. Like, okay, I want them to think this. Yeah. But branding, well, even before I was a musician, like even when I was in school, when I was a kid, I understood very quickly that, okay, you wear this, you act this way, you do this. This is the perception. And it doesn't matter whether it's like true or not. It matters according to what you want to obtain, basically. That's right. So yeah. Other than that, yes. Maybe it's masculine any. But yeah, I have very precise vision of what I want when I'm starting a project or doing anything. But it more leads to disappointment, because rarely does the reality like can be compared to what I obtain at the end. It's always disappointing no matter what.
So you're talking about SF stuff right now. So why don't we talk about your SF sleep, since you've kind of already touched on that subject? You know, like you're talking about, like you know, how you present yourself is how people will perceive you, their impression of you, or how they would judge you per se. So let's talk about your SF sleep. So there's many different dimensions to it. Let's start with the S. So the SF side you're kind of doing already with like your hair and your presentation stuff. But what about your emotions? So how do you process your emotions? And when you do process your emotions, because it is SI, what do you think is or are the main emotions that you've struggled with growing up? You know?
Well, to be honest, I grew up being a depressed kid. So yeah, that's a part of me that I couldn't escape it. That's why I thought I was INFP, by the way. I thought my MFI was so prominent that I couldn't escape it. I was just like constantly sad. And it was really hard to understand why. For a while, it was like, okay, I didn't go through anything particularly traumatic. So it was really hard for me to understand why I was in such a state of just, yeah, constant sadness. But the way I coped with it, for one part, there was music, but very early I started writing. And I would just write for hours about what I feel, about what I think. And I guess, yeah, it gave me a way to analyze things and, yeah, to try to understand how I felt. But I feel like for part of my teenagehood, I'm not going to say that. At some point, when you're depressed for a long time, and I was depressed for a very long time, like for more than a decade, it's like you're really stuck in this. And it's really, really hard to get out of it and to imagine that there can be another state of mind and that you can live in another way than just being sad and disappointed by everything. And yeah, so I don't know if writing helped. It helped because at the end I would finish with either a poem or either a text, and I would be like, okay, at least I made something valuable out of it. But yeah, sleep is tricky because for a while I thought I was sleep second, because I could see that I was thinking all the time about why am I feeling this, what happened, going back to memories and thinking, oh, maybe it's because this person did that, or is it because I did this. But yeah, when they told me I was sleep third, I realized that I was faking sleep with play. And that's why I accepted that was play first. Because I realized that many times I'm simulating interviews in my mind. And it's like I'm interviewing myself about what happened.
Right.
And then I get the answer and I'm like, okay, so that's this. So yeah, I call that fake sleep, but it's inner play. It's just like I'm speaking with myself all the time and trying to understand what's happening. Yeah.
That makes sense. So I guess, yeah, you're like your own therapist then.
Yeah, exactly. But with this said, I did go to therapy, and inner sleep is not working all the way because I don't know if you remember like the metaphor of the Winchester house.
No.
That Dave talked about in one of their class. So I think it's Dave who was talking about the Winchester house and about how when you're in the fixed mindset, it's like everything is super complicated. And rather than just going from point A to point B, you find like a million reasons why you cannot do things or why you're stuck.
Right.
Well, if you're in inner play, you're just going to give yourself the answers that you know. And then, of course, you need someone to give you the answers that you don't have or you don't want to hear. So
right,
it doesn't totally work.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense as an OE also.
Yeah.
Since you already touched on a topic, why don't we go to the opposite of sleep, which is play? Your play is NT. So your lead NT, you're like a nerd. And
Yeah.
I guess no one would guess based on your appearance, but you are a
Yeah,
nerd.
you know, I put this thing and I was like, I'm 100% sure there will be comments like, oh my gosh, she's not NT.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure people are gonna say you're an ESFP or something. Because you have like the ESFP look going, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I won. I'm almost an alpha if they say that. So
yeah. Your play is NT though. That's the truth. So what's and it's your first animal. Can you share a little bit on what life is like as a lead NT play, you know?
Basically, so yeah, I'm gonna connect it, but I'm gonna find another way to go through it. I'm double masculine consume, so I'm consuming all the time. And when I'm done consuming, the first thing I'm going to do is go to someone and explain to them what I consumed and try to find a way to discuss, to talk about the subject and find another way to see it and find solutions. Even if I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to bring any subject of his interest to people I know are also NT play often. Not always, only people who are NT-play. And yeah, I'm just going to discuss for hours about several aspects of the topic, and yeah, just how they see things, how it's going to go in the future. I'm always talking about possibilities in the future, basically. And when I'm using NT-play, and that's why I also accepted the result, immediately I feel like electricity. Like I know when I meet someone who's NT-play, because like we're just starting and we're into this thing, but it lasts hours. And when I'm with someone who's not NT-play, I can feel that they are wearing out and it doesn't interest them, and or something they're like, oh, why are you talking about this? But it's like it's just so interesting to me.
I think as an NT-play person, the reaction I get is they're confused. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, what's going on here? And I'm like, I have to explain the SI, so they'll get it. You know?
And or I just go into a rant, and I don't know if you had that sometimes, but you can see at some point you stop and you look at the person and they have that look.
I think when I had Chinsia twice during my interviews, she always gets so pissed off about like the look that people give her. But I'm info dominant, so I'm okay. Because like when I see the person is confused, I have ST Blast as a savior, right? So I can switch gears to that language instead if I notice that they're getting confused. But I think for you, because you're blast fast, it's gonna be not the easiest. And your blast is double feminine too. It's like the worst, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But I learned with time to communicate properly with people. Also, I did drama lessons at some point, and eloquence. So you learn to like organize your speech in a way that it's digestible for people. But if I get excited about a topic, it's just like it goes away. Like at some point, people are like, "But why are we talking about this exactly?" I just wanted to, right? But I think my brother is probably the same type as me, and I can just feel it when we're together because it's just like, I don't know, an explosion, you know? Like we take a topic and we just like dissect it in every way possible. Even if it's a dumb thing, just seeing a movie. It's impossible for me to watch a movie without always talking about, okay, what's going to happen? What are the possibilities? Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's this. And if I compare, for example, to my mom who's SI, she doesn't want to guess. Just like it just annoys her deeply.
Yeah.
She just wants the answer. And I want to be right, you know? And I also think that's why I didn't get types directly. I just wanted to play the guessing games of maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. And then when I was done, I was like, okay, yeah, I still want
the answer. You're also energy dominant, so being accurate with information is gonna be hard, especially with feminine sensory as well. But you're gonna be good at like exchange of energy. So can you talk about like that power of like being able to exchange energy with people? You know, it's definitely good for parties, good for just vibing instead of like being so serious, talking about the information all the time. Can you talk about like that benefit of that?
Yeah. I'm not a party person. I hate going to parties. Like all my friends know that. And I think it was one of the difficult things when I was asking them questions to type myself, and they were like, okay, it's difficult for us to know if you're introvert or extrovert, because they know it's easy to talk with me, but at the same time, they know they shouldn't ask me to come to any party. I get bored very quickly, and it's also one of the reasons I didn't think I was play. Actually, any other type than NT-play tires me like the speed of light.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes, I cannot. I have to leave. I have to go home and consume it, be on my own.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can see that if I'm in a group and there's infodoms and I feel like the energy is like going down, I'm gonna make a joke or divert the attention to change the mood. Yeah,
right.
I can do that easily. One of my best friends was an ETI for some time, and he was really like the worst infodom possible. Like anything people would say, he would not only take it very seriously, but would take it upon himself to come to the truth and get down to the things that were like, hey, no one is trying to solve this today. that seriously, you know.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so you touched on this earlier already, but you are
Mhm.
double activated, double masculine NF consume. Can you share more about like the NF flavor of that consume and it being double masculine, like how it affects you and how you personally experience that?
That's basically an addiction. It's just like, if I have any minute free, I will find a way to consume. Like
But
whether it's
what
on
are
my
you
phone.
what are you consuming though? Because it's NF. So what are you consuming?
Well, my understanding of this is it doesn't matter what you consume. What matters is what you retain from it. So, if I take any example, for a while with my brother, we were into Marvel movies, right? And when you say that, people are always thinking, "Oh, it's dumb. It's definitely SF," and obviously it's SF, right? Like if you take it the way it is. Um, but what I was really interested in every movie was the subtext. So if you take a movie like Captain America, and I hated the first one, so I'm going to talk about the second one. The second one is really interesting because it's basically about the example, like the shiny example of a soldier who turns away from the American army because, yeah, it's been 50 years maybe since he was in the army. He comes back. It's 2012. A lot of things happen, terrorism and everything, and he comes to a point where he doesn't understand um, the way America does war now. And I always thought it was interesting because for a very long time, every American war movie was about how America was saving everybody and it's the best army and they're the savior of the planet. And when you have mainstream movie going into criticism like those, it really shows that now in popular culture, America arrived at a time where they were questioning their own like armed forces. And it was very interesting to see how they were treating this topic in the mainstream way and what it was saying about the state of the world and the state of, I don't know, yes, American dream and the way they were perceiving their country. And so each time I'm watching something, whether it's like uh, super SF or not, I'm like, okay, if I take a step back, what does it say about the state of society and art and popular culture? And I'm super interesting, for example, in popular culture, but it's more interesting for me to analyze, okay, why do we come to this? Like recently I was interested in R&B and the evolution of R&B during the 70s and right now. And there's a lot of complaints from old people that right now, before R&B was really like a beat and it was about seducing a woman in the most elegant way. And it was like really well written. And now we are really in the down tempo, really sad time in R&B. And it's very difficult for people of the previous generation to accept that. And so there were a lot of questions about why it became like this, you know. Is it because, I don't know, between the 70s and right now, the drug of predilection changed? So, for example, in the 70s, it was like more cocaine and everything. It was speed. And now it's like marijuana. So maybe there's this slowed down mood, or the fact that young people don't believe in love the way they used to believe it. There is hookup culture. And so, yeah, maybe that's what it's transpiring in the songs. And I'm super interested in how, yeah, the society changes and how art responds and what it shows about. And it's a response, question answer movement between art and how society evolves. And so, yeah, for me, NF consume, it's not so much about what you consume, because basically it's just my FI gets interested in something for whatever reason that I don't know. It's just like,
Right.
and I get into it, but I get into it in a very like obsessive way. Like I'm going to go down the rabbit hole, and then at some point it will be like, okay, I learned everything I needed to learn. It's okay. I did the same with singing, for example, singing technique. It's not specially NF, you know, but I got into it. I was into it. At some point, it was when I was younger. It was philosophy because I was really despaired, and I was like, okay, there's probably some guy who thought about that before me, about the meaning of life and everything. So let me read and go into it, and existentialism and everything. So yeah, whatever I do, what leads my consume is definitely masculine and five. If I don't have interest in it, I'm just not gonna look into it. I had this best friend who I think was double masculine consume, but NETI, and what was driving him was the truth. So he would go into topics like really heavy, and he really went into every conspiracy theory, and he wanted to know if the Earth was flat and things like this, right? And on my side, I was like, I don't know. Like, of course, I don't believe that Earth is flat, but even if it was, it wouldn't be like, the worst, the worst thing. I wouldn't feel like, yeah, I just want to know, okay, what's happening physically, like, yeah, I don't know. So yeah,
Right.
and if consume for me, it's anything. It can be anything, but it's just it's the patterns you take from it, basically.
All right. So I guess you're looking for the hidden meaning in each stuff that you.
Yeah, kind of.
Um,
And I
but
went through, so many things, so many things.
okay,
Even when I was a kid, it was like astrophysics, like, but yeah, it went away. I just changed
let's
every other.
I'm gonna move on the topic
Yeah,
because
no,
you're
please.
doing I'm gonna make fun of you a little bit now. So you're doing the play, consume, blast, last thing that Dave complains about, which is like the
Bird
never
chirping?
end. What's that?
Bird chirping?
It's like they call it like the never ending run-on sentence. There's no conclusion. So and then you're channel changing very aggressively. I noticed that
Yeah.
when I interview people with masculine NE,
Mm-hmm.
the channel changing is super aggressive, and you are super aggressive with the channel changing. And
Really?
then yeah,
I don't really realize it. Like, I thought I was feminine intuition before I got my results.
no, you
Like,
channel change like hardcore. Like you went from MCU to R&B music to like philosophy. Like you hardcore. Like it was a hardcore channel change. It wasn't like a subtle one. But anyways, I let's so I'm gonna go to my last question now. And then we'll wrap up the interview. Last one
okay.
is double feminine ST blast last. Um, and that's like doing, executing, being clear with this language, having a conclusion, as we were kind of talking about just now. I know Chinzia gets so pissed off about that when people's like, they give me a weird look because I'm not concluding. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Well, at least you know. But like, it's not a bad thing. It's just like, just need to practice that, obviously, like with anything else in life. So yeah, can you share about your struggle with that double feminine ST blast last?
So, executing. Yeah, I don't know. It's just the last animal, so, and it's double feminine, so obviously, it's the worst.
Right.
No, I'm just gonna think about something for years sometimes before I get down to it. It's just I don't want to do it. Or I think it's too complicated, or I need more preparation. Yeah. I basically, it's the outside circumstances that pushes me to do what I need to do in general. And so that's what I'm trying to change, especially with music these days. Because yeah, being a musician is like being an entrepreneur. So if you don't push yourself, no one's gonna do it. So yeah, but it's difficult. I have a hard time setting a deadline and holding on to it. That's just, I always find reasons why. Well, sometimes those are good reasons, but I always find reasons why I'm not ready and why I shouldn't do it. On the other hand, for when it comes to organizing the tribe, so funnily enough, when I was 18, I studied to be a director.
Oh, cool.
In cinema, and so I did like short films where I was the director, so I was the leading lady.
Yeah, you're the producer.
Yeah. So yeah, the first tries were really terrible, really terrible. I was late. not organized. I thought things would work on their own.
Yeah.
And then I think it's by the end of my first year, I was like, okay, it's not going to work if I do things like this. So I had good feedbacks by the end of it, but I just noticed that if people don't understand what I want and don't do it the way I should do it, the way I want them to do it, it's really hard for me to push and be mean. And I guess it's maybe FTE too. And be like, no, it's not correct. It's not this. And I tend to want to just like cut things off in a very smooth way and take someone else. But of course, it's not going to work. At some point, you have to like have that conversation, the difficult conversation. Okay, that's what I asked. This is this. And yeah, with masculine NE and the visual thing, translating what I see in my mind to other people is really, very, very difficult. So yeah, don't know. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It does. It makes perfect sense too.
Okay.
All right, Yasmina, we'll wrap up the interview here. So thanks for coming out and sharing more about your life as a NETE. I know it's a crazy world. I can understand you, but we're also the big difference between I think us is info versus energy dom. I think that's the biggest one I can tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good to see like what the energy dom side is like. So thanks for sharing that. So
yeah, thank you. It was nice. It was fun. Yeah, I hope I get to know more about your side of things one day.
Yeah. All right. So Yasmina, we'll wrap it up here and take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening, I think, in Belgium. So
Thank you. Yes.
yeah, take care. Okay, bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.